how's it going? So, when you have isolated scope true, it will have this. Basically, this div is going to have class ng-scope. When you see class ng-scope, that means you can, well, it means that you cannot see the parent scopes unless you visit the parent key, I suppose. Okay. So when you see ng-scope, that means the component or a controller has an isolated scope, but it can see the parent through the parent key. Okay. Now, if there is no ng-scope class, that means it can see all of the variables from the parent scope. So you will see now, if we inspect, you see the class ng-class. Well, class ng-scope is gone. And when we look at the console log, we can see the parent variables and all other mumbo jumbo that is not supposed to be in this component, but it is there because it's not an isolated scope. Okay. So the final one is. Let me just have a look. Well, let's look at this one. Okay. This is a component. Okay, so if we go into console log the component scope like this, you will see that the component has a specific. Well, let me see, where is it? This here you go. Okay, my module 1 component. Okay, my module 1 component. Okay. So if we inspect this thing, whoopsie. You see it says ng-issolate-scope. And when we look at the console log, it's just an object, basically, with all the variables in it. Alright? So basically there are three scenarios. If you see no ng-scope or ng-isolated-scope class, that means this component or a controller will have access to the parent variables. Like, it will be like this, basically. It will see all the parent mumbo jumbo in it. Okay. If you see ng-scope, well, let me just go through them. Okay. So now this is isolated scope, right? This isolated scope now. So what we're gonna see is that this thing has no. Oh, whoops. So this thing will have no ng-scope class. That means it can see the parent scopes. Okay. So make sure you do not override the parent variables. It's very easy to do that if you don't isolate the scope. Alright, now we're going to isolate the scope like this. So we will see the second use case where this thing will have ng-scope class in it. When that happens, the controller or component is isolated scope, but you can access the parent through the parent key. And then final variant is standard components. If you look at standard components, they will have ng-issolate-scope in them. And ng-issolate-scope means that they're basically an object with variables in it. And that's it. It cannot see the parent in any shape or form. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.